the source of all energy on Earth is really only one. You could argue maybe two, but it's ultimately from suns, right? Namely from our sun, but the electron force that comes in through our atmosphere is really the only thing that exchanges across our layer of intense blanket that we have that wraps this planet up. So every molecule of water, every chemical compound on Earth, everything started here. We can shuffle the deck chairs chemically and we can make man-made chemicals, but the actual elements have all been here since the beginning of Earth time. You could argue maybe meteorites hit occasionally and bring in some new information or mineral. But really, the only thing coming and hitting Earth new is this huge electron flow of energy from the sun and distant stars that flow in not just from sunlight, but through the aurora borealis or the northern lights. That ion exchange that's pouring into our atmosphere to create the northern lights is a huge, huge current of electrons pouring in from solar flares and distant galactic events onto planet Earth. That's then, captured by the bacteria, the fungi, and the plants, and that puts the energy into our food. And so now think about our food chain and what we're doing to it. We grow these in very abnormal environments for our meat production. Our chickens never see the sunshine. Our pork never sees the sunshine. Our cows see less and less of any sort of healthy ecosystem around them. But you think especially about the poultry industry, which is the single largest meat production industry on the planet, 7 times larger than the beef industry. This massive, massive poultry industry, our food is never seeing its main source of energy in the sun.
Yeah, that's dreadful.
And so you start to realize the food that we're putting in our mouth is calorie rich, but energy deplete, if you will. And
so does that mean you only eat organic meat?
Yeah, I actually don't eat meat. I really try to get as close to the soil as I possibly can. The downside of meat are many now because we live on a toxic planet. The higher you eat on the food chain, the more toxin is invariably embedded in that. And the concept of organic, where I'm actually a executive producer on a documentary right now that we're shooting on the Mississippi River and all of the agricultural environment of the United States. It's profound when you start to look at what we call organic farming is far from good soil practices often. So we are still in a very artificial environment when we have an organic stamp on our food. So, and I don't know if you followed this recently, but the USDA recently allowed the hydroponic systems to now be called organic. Now, a hydroponic system, much like we talked about the chicken, now we have tomatoes and vegetables and fruits that are growing in covered areas that don't get the sunlight like they would out in an open field, are never touching soil in their entire lifespan, and we call that an organic food. And so it's a real decimation of nature happening in our entire food system. And so this is a real big problem. And so really my first encouragement to all of you, if you want to do one thing to increase your energy level, it would be to plant a garden in the backyard. If you start getting yourself reconnected to food independence on even a tiny level, if you grew 1,000% of your food per year, you would increase your energy level. That's currently the average in the United States. 1,000% of our food is grown in backyards. That's pales in comparison to the 45% of our food chain that Europe and the U.S. were growing in our backyards at the end of World War II. And so we need to go back to the victory garden concept of World War II and say, if we want independence, if we want victory, if we want humans to survive, then we need to go back to food independence. We need to start growing it ourselves.